Okay, I am live. You know what the funny thing is I've done this so rarely that I didn't realize that when I entered my studio, I wasn't already live. So I started talking, and then I realized there was a little button at the bottom that said "Go Live," and I thought I was live. So, anyways, I am trying to get used to the idea of doing live because one of the things that I want to bring you is I want to bring you real in the moment experience of what it's like to go to the comic expos. I don't see anybody else doing that right now, and I think that you will benefit greatly from seeing what it's like. It may answer some of the questions that you otherwise would have to get only through experience. I'm going to be at Fan Expo in Denver over the 4th of July weekend. It's a 4-day con. I'm really hoping to sling a whole lot of books. I am also going to be at GalaxyCon in Oklahoma City in, I believe that one is in 2 weeks. And then following GalaxyCon, I'll be at West Texas Convention in Lubbock, Texas. And then following that, I will be, I don't remember where the third week is, but I have 3 weeks in a row. And that's going to be pretty huge. I'm also going to be in Michigan with my friend and sometimes podcast co host, Christopher Talon. That one is coming up fairly soon. It's Kansas City. I'm going to be in Kansas City 4 weeks from now. So I've got three fairly large conventions back to back to back. I don't even have enough books ordered right now. So today, after I get finished recording this podcast, I need to get myself some more books ordered. I have more than enough books for the first book in my series, The Nine Lives of Marva DeLonghi. In fact, because I'm doing live, I can kind of show you a few of the things that I have. So right there is a stack of books. Sorry if you see any kind of laundry sitting on the floor. And if you're listening to the podcast, that is 4 cases of The Nine Lives of Marva DeLonghi. Each one has 120 books in it. And then I'm just going to, let you tour through my dirty house here. I've got one more case right there. And I also have a whole bunch of cases tucked around the house. So that's 5 cases upstairs, each with 120 books in it. And then I have got cases hidden in the pantry of The Nine Lives of Marva DeLonghi. So my wife would probably kill me. She knew I was living through my house, which is not in the cleanest of shape. But right underneath here, I've got another 6 cases of books. And then finally, I have some more of The Nine Lives of Marva DeLonghi down in my basement area. So right down the steps here, I've got myself all these cases of books as well. So that'll get me through quite a bit of shows with the Nine Lives of Marva DeLonghi. But at any given time, I have just a fraction of that many copies of The 8-Ball Magic of Susie Q, the 24/7 of a Russian named Ruskov. And then I have only about 10 copies of The Stories of Bogey and 10 copies left of Buckshot Blast and the Goldfish Getaway. So I try to keep all of those books with me because it's lucrative to be able to do book sale deals. So you can buy 1 book for 18, 2 for 30, 3 for 40, 4 for 50, or 5 for 60. Obviously, 5 for 60 starts to cut into your profit margins, but you still take away a good $30 if you sell a 6-book deal. You do that a couple of times, and you've typically paid for all of your expenses. It's weird to me, as an aside, that I am winded from just doing those couple of flights of stairs. I've been on the carnivore diet now for 43 days, no cheats. I occasionally have a bite of cheese. I occasionally have a scoop or two of, and when I say a scoop, like a tablespoon or two of sour cream with things that I eat. Last night, I had like a pound and a half of ground beef. And I put in 3 eggs, just mix that in, and then 2 tablespoons of sour cream. That was really, really tasty. It was kind of like carnivore chili. It was, it really actually hit all the same notes for me as eating chili. I really enjoy the carnivore diet. I do it because I really love to eat, and especially I love to drink. And I was gaining a ton of weight. You can probably see when I'm sitting in this chair, I look at myself and feel like I'm just like a giant blob of humanness. It's not appealing to me. Whereas most of my life, I've comfortably sat around 185 pounds, fairly well muscled. It's just a genetic thing, actually. I can build muscle quite quickly. Even now, I'm just doing like some push-ups and sprinting, and my muscles are getting bigger pretty quickly, but they're also hidden underneath this fat suit that I've got. And so, carnivore for me is probably 60% vanity and 40% health concerns. They say that diabetes is first, well, some of the early warning signs, let's say, are in your feet. And I have terrible feet. I'm not even willing to show them on camera. My feet are just not the greatest feet in the world. And I've had that for quite a while. Um, Snoring, really, really heavy snoring for months and months, and really years, probably since like 2020. My snoring started to kick up, and it got to the point where I was sleeping on the couch just so my wife could get a good night of sleep. I'm embarrassed to admit that, but that's just where it was at. And so I wanted to do something about that. I wanted to address the issue, and eating carnivore has helped. I hardly snore. Last night, I actually remember Ash waking me up. I was sleeping on my back and I was snoring a little bit, but um, that's the first time that she's had to wake me up in quite a long time. And maybe it was that sour cream. Maybe I'm still that sensitive. Who knows? Uh, Been getting a lot of sun. That feels pretty good. And anecdotally, if you do any research on the carnivore diet, they say that carnivores don't sunburn. That is strangely pretty close to true. I was out on Saturday with my shirt off, and I intentionally, no sunscreen or anything. I know there's going to be people who are like, Jody, you're going to die of melanoma. Skin cancer is going to kill you. It's my body, my agency, my world. I'm willing to take those risks because there are a lot of carnivores out there who claim that they have eat a carnivore lifestyle and they don't sunburn. And so what was really cool about it though is that I was out for 6 hours probably on Saturday. It was way too long of a day for me without any alcohol. Like I wanted to go home a lot earlier than that, but I was fully committed to just being shirtless and soaking up the sun. My head got pink that day, and my body, like my chest. Oh, just the microphone. My chest and my belly both looked like they were going to be scorched. It was the kind of red where I was like, in times past, if I'd looked like that, I was going to be itchy and peeling. It was going to be a bad one. And today, no signs of sunburn. I am tanned, but no signs of sunburn at all. It's really interesting. So I don't know the mechanism for that. This is not a carnivore podcast, but I will say, if you are an author who listens to this and you want to think of different ways to up your game and to get more out of your writing, to get more out of your marketing, I can't stress enough the potential benefits of doing. I'm sorry, I don't do live very often, so I don't like see myself in the moment. For people who are just listening, this is going to be so useless. I'm moving my own camera around that I realized I have actually a microphone on my shirt, so no matter where my phone is, but that means I'm reaching out at weird angles, all that kind of stuff, useless for you. Back to what I was saying, carnivore. The reason that it can be helpful for you, and I would suggest that maybe you look at dietary intervention, is that when you take away distractions, you leave yourself more time to do the things that make a difference. And for me, that is unbelievably true. I thought I was pretty productive when I was a heavy alcohol user. I frequently would start drinking somewhere around 3 p.m., give or take a couple hours, if you know what I mean. And I was like, hey, man, I enjoy what I'm doing. I'm writing, I'm editing, I'm composing podcasts, I'm doing interviews, I'm doing all that kind of stuff, and I'm just having a few drinks. And I would make really interesting excuses. Like I would say, hey, back in medieval times, they were drinking beer all day long because water wasn't safe unless you fermented it through the beering process. And I know that there are arguments on both sides. My wife and I were walking yesterday, and she's had a harder time doing a dietary intervention. She loses way more weight way faster than I do when she does do it. However, she has a harder time sticking to it. So she's just getting back on again after having been carnivore for 2 weeks for her own reasons. But anyways, she was talking about alcohol and like feeling a little bit guilty about the times she drank, the amount she drank, maybe not remembering putting the kids to bed, some things where there's some sort of like foggy areas where a lot of people would look at you and be like, oh, your life is falling apart. I never felt like our life was falling apart. And I myself have never actually been the kind of person that feels too badly. As long as I'm able to accomplish the things I want to accomplish, like It doesn't really matter. Everybody's got their vices. People are dying right now of diabetes. They're dropping like flies. People are dying of heart disease like never before. Um, Type 2 diabetes, I think I already said that. But like Alzheimer's, dementia, they are so on the rise because of the way that we eat. But yet, people, it's easy to pick on people who drink too much because we've gone through eras where we've prohibited drinking at all. There are still dry counties, which I think I revealed to you when I went down to Arkansas recently. Didn't realize that was still a thing, but there are places in the United States that still don't allow the consumption and sale of alcohol. When you take that away, when you don't worry about the ethics or the morals of it, and you just say, I am out to try to accomplish something, and the thing that I am doing is so challenging that I need to muster every last resource that I have toward the doing of the thing. When you do that, that is the moment when you start to realize that a dietary intervention like carnivore, regardless of how you feel about it, can enable you to do things you couldn't do before. Do I have the level of energy that most people on the carnivore diet boast about? I don't. I still get sleepy at night. I'm sitting down in my couch. I've got a cup of decaf coffee with butter in it, and I'm reading my book. And oftentimes, after I've been reading for about an hour and a half, I start to doze. And I'll intentionally switch over and watch a few reels on Instagram and try to freshen up. And then I'll take another session of reading. And typically by 11 o'clock, I'm out. Like I cannot focus anymore. It's smart to go to bed. So I get in maybe from 9 p.m. to 11, fairly good 2 hours of reading. For me, that's work. For you, it's probably work. Almost anybody who reads a couple hours a day experiences massive benefits in their life elsewhere. Reading is just great for you. But for me, especially, it's work because the more I read, the better I can write. And during the daytime, if I'm not at my standing desk, which right now I'm sitting, which is really rare, but it felt comfortable, so I just went with it. But I would say if I'm not at my standing desk, when I'm trying to write, there's a really good chance I'll doze. I haven't had that quite as bad since I've been carnivore. And I'm only 43 days in, so I'm probably still going to experience some more metabolic shifts, some more energy. I'm probably not fully fat adapted, which again, we're in a writing podcast, so I don't want to get deep into the research. It's just, I've done a lot of the research, and there's supposed to be some benefits I'm personally not experiencing yet. So I guess I'm relating that to you live and in the moment that for me, it has been good because it's helped me to cut away alcohol. It's helped me to cut away the heavy carb loaded meals that made me brain foggy and weird. And it's helped me to be more productive. And I can say with no reservation that I'm far more productive right now and over the last month than I had been before. I still have all the same resistance to doing things that I did before. I hate doing the hard stuff. I hate doing the hard stuff. I find that I really buck against the challenging stuff, whether in any given day, I don't know exactly what that challenging stuff is going to be, but I do buck. And that's still the case. Sometimes it's writing, sometimes it's editing, sometimes it's the marketing, putting together this podcast, whatever it might be. I still will struggle with it. When I don't want to do something, it's still tough, but I tend to get it done a little bit better the past 40 or so days. And I think that was the case the first time around when I did carnivore as well. So the reason that I started sitting down to do this live was, like I said, to get comfortable with doing lives, but also because I wanted to talk about something that I think a lot of writers are not doing. And maybe I wish I would have started here because there's a chance that if somebody was listening, maybe they dropped off thinking it wasn't very focused. Anyways, I'm new at this, guys. Forgive me. I wanted to talk about going places where other writers aren't. This is something that I'm only just now starting to think about. When I did the St. Thomas More holiday peddlers market, that was the first live book event that I had done. And it was an amazing experience. I think I got really lucky in that I sold $500 worth of books in 4 hours. And I thought, man, if I could do that every weekend, that would be a really big deal. And if I could do better than that, if I could double that by having an 8 hour event, or if I could quadruple that by having 2 days and 16 hours, wow, I could really make a living as an author. Because even when you take out expenses, that's a pretty decent amount. But what I found is that not every event is created equal. And you probably knew this without me telling you, but sometimes you go to an event and there's nothing going on. I came back from the Cabot event, and that one was so tough to get sales, but we did it. We learned, and we figured something out. Like that was not necessarily the best place to meet a large number of my readers, but it did remind me how awesome this experience is. I went to, and this is great, by the way, because this is not what you would expect. I went to a book fair in Des Moines at the Des Moines Fairgrounds, and that was a horrible place to find my readers. It was a horrible place for everybody to find readers. Unfortunately, it was not a well organized event, and it was the longest 8 hour event that I think I could ever do. So you zone in and find places where your readers are going. But I've been going to a lot of comic expos. And the one downside to going to these comic expos is that there are other authors doing them. And listen, I 100% fully believe that there are enough readers out there for all of us. But the more saturated a place gets with authors, the fewer books you're going to sell because people do have a limited number of dollars to spend at any given time. And so as you go places where more authors are in attendance, you're going to start to feel the competitive strain. There are several ways, and I could do a separate podcast episode about this, but there are several ways in which you can still thrive in that environment. One of those ways is to have a killer pitch. Make sure that when you go, you know exactly how you pitch your books. And no matter how businessy it feels, you cannot give in to the false belief that you're just better off the cuff. Nobody is better off the cuff. There has never been a professional athlete who's like, yeah, I don't practice because I find that I'm far better if I just get out there and I'm natural. Like, we're not good by nature. We're not good by nature, unfortunately. We're really bad at things naturally. We get good by doing things repetitively and learning the parts of our practice that are weak and drilling and drilling and drilling and drilling until we get great. And so you need to have a great pitch. If you're going to be in a comic expo where there are other authors, you just need to have the best pitch from your attention getter. Right now you can use the dumbest attention getter in the world. You say, hey, do you like to read? Pretty much everybody I know that is successful is using that right now. And it's going to work for a while because as people are walking around, we still are the minority vendor at any of these things. So when someone says, do you like to read? Then the guest who's walking by is like, read, interesting. I wouldn't have expected to find that. You still experience that a lot. But eventually, do you like to read is going to be so ubiquitous that nobody is going to stop. And you're going to have to figure out a better attention getter. Hey, do you like to strip naked? I don't know. I'm not really sure what it's going to be. Hey, has anyone ever tried to murder you before? Anything like that. I don't know. And I'm literally just thinking off the top of my head, what are some things that you could do that would be better attention getters than do you like to read? Hey, do you like chocolate is probably a better one. However, and I have said this many times before, don't actually have chocolate at your table. So probably don't do that. But the point here is that do you like to read is actually a really weak attention getter. It just works right now because it's specific and the market right now doesn't have a ton of competitive uh, competition. Moving right along. I'm thinking about going places already where other authors aren't because I know that as long as I can be on the front edge of all of this, I have a better chance of continuing to be successful and of finding readers where you might not totally expect to find them. So going to the Strawberry Festival for me in Cabot, Arkansas, even though that one was a flop, was a great experiment. It maybe opens up, oh, music fests are a great place to go for my kind of reader. And that may still be true. That one might have been a flop for me, but if I had a better location or if I dialed in a better way of doing it, who knows, could be great. I thought recently when my friend, fellow author Joe Prosit went to a tattoo convention. That's brilliant. He went to a tattoo convention. He sold out of books. He got his own tattoo. He had a great time. And I thought, man, that's brilliant. Because you know what? I love tattoos and I love to read. Now, I'm not saying that everybody who loves tattoos loves to read, but I am saying that there's something about a tattoo convention that guarantees you have somebody who appreciates art enough that they want to get like permanent art on their body. You have somebody who has a sentimental bent to them. And that may be not even a fair word because sentimental almost makes you think of like unearned, cheap kind of emotional punches. And that's not what's going on. But when you get a tattoo, you'll hear people talk about this and they'll say, like, I won't get a tattoo until I have something incredibly meaningful. We're looking for these meaningful things. And so, what are books if not this incredibly meaningful experience? They're more meaningful in many cases, not all cases, but in many cases, than like a film because you're going to spend hours consuming that book. And so, you want it to really be meaningful and entertaining and enjoyable. And so, going and selling your books at a tattoo convention is a brilliant place to go. And I was jealous that Joe thought of it before me. But I'm going to be looking for different places to sell books that are not as common, like tattoo conventions. Now, I'd love to hear from you too if you have ideas of places to go where you can sell books, where your readers might be, because I think that that's going to be especially necessary in the next couple of years. Where can you go to sling your books that you are going to find your readers and other authors aren't thinking about? I think that this is the edge that the next big authors are going to exploit. And I use that word intentionally. I think that this is the edge that's going to push you over because you're going to be able to go to more places more frequently and meet new people. David and Lydia share amazing. Thank you so much for teaching me how to sell books live. Uh, Really cool experience of being at the Cincinnati Comic Expo and seeing what you were doing. And one of the things that I caught from them is that they were meeting some of the same people. And that's great because they're building relationships going back year after year after year. I think that it was their seventh, eighth, maybe even ninth year there. But they were forced to continue to build their backlist. And that's great. You should write more books. They were competing with themselves from previous years. People had seen them already. People had experienced their pitch. And so you dwindle down because a lot of people will go to the same events year after year. Um, if you go places that you've never been before, where your readers will be, you're not going to have the same mix of people at a tattoo convention that you do at a comic expo. So you can keep your radius a little smaller, maybe travel a little bit less because you have more opportunities to attend events where different kinds of people are, but they all share in common the fact that they want to read your books. So we're at about the 25-minute mark. I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap up for today. I want to keep doing these lives. And I did a live before this, what I thought was live. Anyways, I can't remember if I put it in here or not, but I'm going to be doing lives of events that I'm doing. So you'll get a chance to see me at the Denver Comic, or excuse me, the Fan Expo in Denver. You'll get a chance to see me live at GalaxyCon in Oklahoma City and a gaming convention in Kansas City. So that's going to be a little bit different. I think there are writers who are doing gaming conventions, but it is going to be a little bit different. And that's in Kansas City in 4 weeks. So really excited to be at all those places. And I'm going to try to do lives. I doubt they'll be much longer than about 5 minutes or so, just as a way to show you what's going on. And maybe I'll do several throughout the day, hoping to catch some things. So anyways, thanks so much for being here. Really appreciate you and look forward to next time.